Welcome to the P.A.S. Report podcast. If you're tired of censorship, outraged by government abuses, and thirsty for real insights, then you're in the right place. Get ready, because here, the fight for freedom never ends. Here's your host, Professor Nick Giordano.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the America's Founding Series, part of the P.A.S. Report podcast. This is your host, Nick Giordano. I'm glad you could join me today. Make sure to follow and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Also, share this episode with fellow patriots to get an understanding of the unique individuals that helped create this country, the forgotten patriots, the names outside the Benjamin Franklins, the John Adams, the George Washingtons of the world. Because today, we're stepping into a world where words are weapons, and ink is just as potent as gunpowder is. Imagine the bustling streets of colonial Baltimore, the importance of the printing press at the time, a dimly lit shop, the print shop busy, giving the American Revolution is in full swing. People want to know what's happening, and uncertainty is in the air. The future is unknown. It's January 1777. The Continental Army is struggling. Morale's at an all-time low, and the fight for independence is hanging on by a thread where, at any moment, the entire Patriot movement can collapse. And there are people beginning to doubt the effort, whispers that we're going to lose. Victory feels all but impossible. And in this precarious moment, a dangerous secret arrives in Baltimore. The first printer to publish it, to stake her very life on it, was a woman named Mary Katherine Goddard. In an age where printing the wrong words could brand you a traitor, this one woman is going to make a decision that's irrevocably changed the course of history. And she wasn't a soldier. She wasn't a politician that's making grand pronouncements. She wasn't a diplomat meeting with foreign dignitaries to try and secure alliances. Mary Katherine Goddard was a printer. Her contribution was nothing short of essential to America's founding, the cause of liberty, and she is going to be the focus of today's America's Founding Series episode because she embodies the bedrock principle of this country that we should still cherish today. And I'm talking about free speech, a free press, courage in the face of tyranny, and the unyielding power of the individual. When we look at Mary Katherine Goddard, she's the printer of liberty because this is a time when free speech could be classified as treason depending on what you said or what you printed. It could make you a target. And Mary Katherine's story begins with a printing press. Born in Connecticut in 1738, she was no stranger to the movement of the printers. Her family relocated frequently, which was a common occurrence in colonial America for survival. But when it comes to the printing trade, it was often passed down through families, generation to generation, and it found its way to Mary through her older brother, William Goddard. He was a printer, and like many entrepreneurs of the time, he had to travel a lot. He was a risk taker. And when William's ventures took him all to far-off places, sometimes get into financial trouble, but it was Mary Katherine who stepped up time and again to keep the family presses running. She wasn't just an assistant. She effectively became the backbone of the business. And what a business it was. I mean, imagine. You're in the press during the American Revolution where printing isn't just a job. It was the nervous system of the new nation, the birth of a new nation, newspapers, pamphlets, broadsides. These were the social media of colonial times, the 24/7 news cycle, the very lifeblood of revolutionary thought. And for those that don't know, broadsides are single printed sheets that served public announcements and proclamations. Without them, ideas wouldn't spread, a unified movement couldn't form, and printers that would print anything in support of the Patriot cause are going to live under constant threat of arrest. Their equipment could be seized, their livelihoods destroyed. And as John Adams famously said, the Gazette, the newspaper, is the most formidable engine, and it is an engine. It's an engine for liberty. And in Baltimore, Mary Katherine wielded that engine with unparalleled skill. Imagine her shop, the scent of linseed oil and paper, stacks of hand-set type waiting to form words, the constant buzz of messengers, patriots, customers flowing in and out, eager for the latest news, what's going on the front lines, what's happening in the American Revolution. So she became the indispensable heart of the Maryland Journal and the printing operations in Baltimore. And under her steady hand, the paper became a reliable source of information. And it was really important for the Patriot cause because as war was raging around them, Mary was a meticulous businesswoman. She would ensure that patriots understood the importance of liberty, that patriots understood what was going on with the war, and she would make sure that the bills were being paid, subscriptions being managed. Most importantly, getting out the news is going to be critical. But there's going to come a moment of Goddard's ultimate defiance. Her greatest act of courage, something a lot of people may not have done. And this arrived in the winter of 1777. So we have to go back. We got to rewind. July 2nd, 76, Declaration's going to pass. July 4th, it's going to be signed. It will be adopted. This is a monumental act. It's going to change the course of humanity. But one of the lesser-known facts, the very first published copies of the Declaration of Independence did not list all the signers. The only names that it bore were John Hancock, the president of the Continental Congress, and Charles Thompson, who was the secretary. And the reason that they didn't print the names was because Congress generally feared that if Britain learned the names of all those who signed this treasonous document, their reprisals are going to be swift, they will be unforgiving, devastating. So it was a tactical maneuver, tactical silence. However, by January 1777, the shifted. General Washington is starting to achieve success in crucial victories at Trenton and Princeton. The Continental Congress, now meeting in Baltimore, they had to escape the British threat in Philadelphia. They decided it was time to send an unambiguous message to both the American colonists, the Patriots, to the world, to the British, that this revolution was permanent. The revolution was here to stay, and we're going to fight to our dying breath. And the leaders stood proudly by their Declaration of Independence. They're going to release their names because they will fight to the dying breath for liberty. So they turn to Mary to make this bold statement. She was the most reliable, well-respected printer around. She received the order to print a new official copy of the Declaration of Independence, but this copy is going to be different. This copy will bear all the names of the signers, every single one of the 56 men who had pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. This is a dangerous moment because printing this broadside was far from routine. It was an act of treason, punishable by imprisonment, confiscation of property, and very likely death by hanging. It would provide the British with a hit list, essentially. And Mary Katherine, who published this, is an accessory now to rebellion. Yet she didn't hesitate. She carefully set the type, arranged the names, and then below the last signature, she added her own name, Baltimore, in Maryland, printed by Mary Katherine Goddard. She didn't just print the founder's name, she affixed her own name to the document. And if you look at her work prior to this, she would go by M.K. Goddard. By printing her full name, she knew damn well what she was doing. She declared herself a lone woman, a target of the crown. That's cojones, my friend, and the personal courage it takes to do that. How this defiant proclamation of her commitment to liberty, how much of an impact it had on the society was tremendous. She risked everything with that one broadside. But a service to the cause is not going to end there. And when we come back, we're going to look at how she became a central figure in the communication infrastructure of America and how her legacy lives on to this day. So everyone, hang tight out there. We'll be right back. Are you ready to move easily and independently without pain and stiffness holding you back? Do you want to look in the mirror and see a hydrated glow instead of more fine lines and wrinkles? Well, discover Native Path Collagen, made with only type 1 and 3 collagen fibers. These are the two most important types that make up 90% of the collagen found in your cartilage, bones, skin, hair, nails, and gut. They provide maximum benefits. And Native Path Collagen is a single ingredient formula with no fillers, additives, or artificial sweeteners. Plus, it's third-party tested for heavy metals, ensuring purity and safety. Completely flavorless, Native Path Collagen can be added to anything: coffee, smoothies, oatmeal, you name it. It doesn't clump, it absorbs fast thanks to its peptide formula. And the best part, Native Path offers amazing bundle deals at a fraction of the price of other brands. With over 4 million jars sold, 1 million happy customers, 8,000 5-star reviews, and a 365-day no-risk guarantee, Native Path is a brand you could trust. They offer an 800 number for any questions you may have, and then you'll speak to a real person who's there to help. Visit getnativepath.com/PAS and start your transformation today. That's getnativepath.com/PAS. Welcome back to the America's Founding Series, part of the P.A.S. Report podcast. If you're enjoying the episode, be sure to subscribe and share this podcast with 3 to 4 people so they can learn about the remarkable patriots that forged our great nation. And it really helps out if you go to Apple Podcasts and Spotify, give the P.A.S. Report a 5-star rating, take 30 seconds to write a good review. Now, before the break, we left off with Mary Katherine Goddard's incredible bravery, printing the names of all the signers of the Declaration of Independence, becoming an accessory to rebellion. And not only that, she signed her own name to that document. It's now known as the Goddard Broadside, and it was widely distributed. Colonists could now see the names in permanent ink, solidifying the resolve for independence. It was no longer whispers in tavern or signatures in secret or wondering who was the ones that signed on to this document. It was permanent ink on paper. America had declared itself free and independent, and now there was no turning back. But her role extended beyond just the printing press. Mary Katherine served as the Postmaster of Baltimore, an appointment she received in 1775, even before independence was officially declared. And she held this position through the entire war, well into the early days of the new republic, 1789. Now, I want you to think about that. For 14 years, here you have a woman. Obviously, at the time, women don't normally hold these high positions. But here you have a woman who oversaw one of the most important mail networks in the colonies, and the Postal Service was a critical artery for the exchange of military intelligence, congressional orders, revolutionary pamphlets and newspapers that are going to sway public opinion, get more patriots to the cause. And so the battles are going to rage. The armies are going to continue to march. Mary Katherine Goddard ensured that the lifeblood of communication flowed freely throughout the Revolution. And in essence, this is another form of printing liberty, keeping the separate colonies connected and informed as opposed to 13 independent colonies. Her publication of the Maryland Journal was also critical during these tumultuous years because it provided a consistent source of news. Not only did it provide news, it was used as a way to boost morale and counter British propaganda. So it was an extraordinary time, and this was very unusual for a woman to hold such a high position of authority and responsibility, especially when you think about the national security implications involved. However, she proved to be indispensable. She demonstrated her leadership. She demonstrated her exceptional organizational skills. Most importantly, she demonstrated her unwavering commitment to this new fledgling nation. Unfortunately, 1789, new federal government restructured the Postal Service under Benjamin Franklin's successor, Samuel Osgood. Mary Katherine's going to be removed from her position. Osgood ignorantly claimed that the job required a man. Despite all of Goddard's proven track record, impeccable service, it didn't matter. She tried to petition for reinstatement. She tried to gather support from prominent citizens, which she did, but ultimately she was unsuccessful. And that was simply the nature of the times. However, she continued to run her successful bookstore and press until her death in 1860. So what does Mary Katherine Goddard's story mean for us today? Because I always like to connect the past to the present, our founding to present day. She wasn't a soldier or a statesman, but she understood the power of words. She understood the importance of communication. And her printing of the Declaration's names, the signers of the Declaration of Independence, daring to put her own name below that, it transformed the revolution into a point of no return. It was an either all or nothing approach. It wasn't merely about disseminating information. It was about building our nation's identity, about a public declaration of unshakable resolve that creates the American identity. And her legacy reminds us that America's founding depended on more than just battles. It depended on ideas that were conceived, but also spread throughout the colonies. It depended on risks being taken by ordinary citizens. And it depended on the courage of individuals like Mary Katherine, who through their dedication to a free press, their unwavering belief in the power of truth, helped build the very foundation of a free society. Today, truth seems so evasive. Ideologues have taken over newsrooms. Personal courage is really tested in this day and age. But Mary Katherine serves as an example. She shines brightly. Even today, we see echoes of her courage in independent journalists who stand outside of corporate media. They do it at great personal risk. The fight for open exchange of ideas, it's still vital to make our country work. And Mary Katherine's example reminds us that protecting truth is never passive. It requires bravery in every single generation. I believe this demonstrates that the fight for an open and honest exchange of ideas is as vital today as it was in 1777. And Mary Katherine, her life, her work, is a blueprint for the kind of civic courage needed to maintain a free society. It reminds us that protecting the truth is a continuous act of bravery. And remember, truth does not depend upon human acceptance to give it its binding force of validity. But a free press is supposed to bring the truth so that people could form logical conclusions. And when we think of our founding, when we think of the Declaration of Independence, we have to remember not just the signers of the Declaration, but the printer who gave their names to the world, Mary Katherine Goddard, the woman who helped give birth to a nation. I hope you found this episode informative. I want to thank you for joining me, and I'll be back next week with another great episode of the P.A.S. Report podcast.
Thank you for listening to the P.A.S. Report. Don't forget to rate, share, and hit that subscribe button. That way you'll never miss an episode. For more exclusive content and updates, visit us at PASreport.com and follow Professor Giordano on all social media platforms at P.A.S. Report.